Hey everybody, I'm back with the Honor View20. I've been using this phone as my main daily driver for the past 4.5 days. And I'm just gonna come out and say it. I really like this phone. It's not the best phone I've tested in recent months. It's not the greatest phone, but it's very good. And for the price that Honor is selling, which is under 500 US dollars, this thing is either 450, 475 depending on where you are. This is a damn good deal, and it actually makes it not worth it to buy an Huawei Mate 20 Pro unless you really have money to spend. So the reason I say that is because the Honor View20 offers a very similar experience as what you'd get from the Huawei Mate 20 Pro or any other Huawei Mate 20 phones. You have the exact same chipset, a Kirin 980. You have 8 gigs of RAM in there, which is actually more RAM than the base configurations of the Huawei Mate 20, and a 4000 mAh battery, which is a little smaller than what you get on the Mate 20, but it's large enough to last you all day, definitely more than one day. So a lot of the stuff that makes this phone special I already covered in the hands-on, and to be honest, by the time you're watching this video, you already know everything about this phone. There's a 48 megapixel main camera on the back. It's a Sony CMOS sensor, the first phone in the world to use this camera sensor. You have a TOF camera, which is a 3D scanner that unfortunately has no use now. Honor still has to develop software for it, so until the software is ready, you can't really use this secondary TOF camera, but there's a lot of potential. And you have this really cool V kind of pattern that's laser edged into the glass, and then of course around the front is this hole in the upper left corner. This is the new design that Samsung and Huawei, aka Honor, has committed to, and it's basically what phones are going to do in 2019 to avoid the notch. So this design allows the Honor View20 to achieve a mostly bezel-less edge-to-edge design. The display is mostly uninterrupted, and it's very nice. It's a 6.4 inch panel, LCD 1080p resolution, so it's not as great as a Quad HD panel or an OLED panel that's found on the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, but it still looks good. Color is very accurate, and unless you have really great vision, you're not going to be able to spot any pixels on this panel. It looks good, it looks very sharp, and viewing angles are excellent too. It doesn't get as bright as I'd like outdoors. It's a little bit less than like the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, but definitely usable. So this phone, 6.4 inch display, but with this extra taller aspect ratio, makes the phone very easy to hold with one hand. I really like Huawei or Honor swiping navigation. It's not as good as the swiping navigation on Xiaomi phones, but it's good enough. You swipe from the side to go back, and you swipe up to go home, swipe up and hold to bring up all the different app overviews. So as mentioned during my hands-on, a lot of apps right now are not optimized for that hole in the corner yet. So for example, Instagram, when you go into Instagram stories, it usually fills up the entire display, but it doesn't here. So instead you get this little black bar at the top that is letterboxing. So it sucks for now, but I'm pretty sure apps will adopt to the hole eventually because Samsung is using it too. So the good news is that all of Honor's native apps, from the gallery to the phone dialer to settings, everything takes advantage of the entire full screen, and YouTube does too. So really, I think as weeks and months goes on, maybe like by April or something, apps should be fully adopted to the whole, and then you'll be able to take advantage and get a full screen display. So let's go over the ports really quick. In the bottom, you have a USB-C port with a speaker grill. The good news is that sound also comes out from the earpiece at the top, but it's very faint. So on the left side, the phone, it's mostly clean other than the SIM tray right here. It's a dual SIM tray, but there is no room for an SD card, so there is no external storage for this phone. But the phone comes with either 128 or 256 gigs of internal storage, so make sure you buy the one that fits what you need. If you get 256, it should be good enough. Now up top is where Honor is going retro a bit. You have not only an IR blaster, but a headphone jack. These are two things that most other phone brands don't care for anymore. So if you care about being able to control the TV with your phone, the Honor View20 is one of the last phones out there that support that. So finally, on the right side, you have a power button and volume rocker. So pretty basic setup. So again, the phone fits in the hand very nicely. The glass is curved around the back. The front panel, it's pretty flat, which doesn't look as sexy as a curved display, but it's actually easier to type on and easier to use. So you already know it's super powerful, super fast. It can handle anything you throw at it. Even the bug that I've noticed before, like Zynga Poker not running properly, that's been fixed. So now I can run that game on a Kirin 980 just fine. and I have no issues with this phone whatsoever. It's definitely one of the fastest phones I've used. You know, no performance issue, no stutter, no lag over 4.5 days of heavy use. So I'm just gonna jump right in and focus on this 48 megapixel camera sensor. After all, it is the largest sensor in a smartphone right now. Now obviously a larger megapixel count does not mean a better photo. It simply means a photo is larger. It has more pixels in the photo. That means you can blow it up larger. If you were to print out a photo, you can print out a 48 megapixel photo a lot larger than you could print out a 12 megapixel photo. So Honor uses the 48 megapixel sensor in two ways. The first, it's actually to shoot 12 megapixel photos. Now you might be asking, why would you want to use a 48 megapixel sensor to shoot 12 megapixel photos? That's because Honor uses a process called pixel binning. So pixel binning essentially uses image information from 4 pixels and combine them into one. So that means each pixel has 4 times the photo information, the light information, as a typical pixel shot by other phones. So with 4 times the image information, that allows Honor to process the photos more thoroughly and basically apply algorithms to pump up color and contrast and all of that. So that's why when you take photos in this mode, in 12 megapixel mode, everything comes out very punchy, like very lively. Let me find another photo to show you. So right here, this is a 12 megapixel shot. So you notice the sky is very blue. This yellow is very kind of bold. It stands out quite a lot. And just in general, this is a very, very pleasing image. It's very eye-catching. If you post this on Instagram, it should attract some attention because it looks so nice, like a filter's been applied to it. Now, if you shoot with 48 megapixel camera, right here, you see the image, it's no longer as punchy. Colors are slightly more dull, but that's because it's no longer using pixel binning. Now instead, you can blow up this image very, very large. Now you can't quite zoom in that much on a phone, but if you load this photo on a computer and blow it up all the way, you're gonna see that you can zoom in on this a little bit better than you could on other cameras with a smaller megapixel count. So right here, check this out. This is a side-by-side comparison with a photo taken by the Honor View20, 48 megapixel on the left, versus Xiaomi Mi Mix 3 on the right. So the Xiaomi sensor is a 12 megapixel. So you notice that when you go in 10 times zoom, it's a lot more clear on the Honor View20 photo. On the Xiaomi Mi Mix 3, you see jagged edges just because the megapixel count is not high enough for you to crop in like that. So basically, you have to think about the shooting situation and choose whether you want to shoot in 12 megapixel or 48 megapixel. When you shoot in 12 megapixel, like right here, it's a very punchy image. This is a very dark scene in real life, and the image pulled in a lot of light. Now if I jump to 48 megapixel, you see the whole image is just a little bit darker. It's no longer as punchy, and you see right here it's a lot darker than when I shot this with a 12 megapixel. I think for the most part, you'd want to stick with shooting in 12 megapixels because the image just comes out very nicely. It's very crisp. So now this is also shot at night, and you notice it's a really well lit image. And then right here, you get really good details too. A little bit of that usual Huawei Honor over sharpening that makes it look a little bit like over processed. But again, for social media, this is excellent. But overall, I'm really, really happy with this camera. This is a really strong camera. In fact, Honor seems to have fixed the stabilization issue when you're shooting 4K videos. If you're familiar with my work, you know I complain about this a lot when I reviewed the Honor Magic 2 and the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. I thought that those phones had really good camera, except when you're recording videos in 4K 30, there's a lot of micro jitter and just lack of stabilization. Honor seems to have fixed this. There's EIS on this, and in 4K 30, it looks pretty good. This phone still cannot shoot 4K 60, but at least 4K 30 is now relatively smooth. Okay, so 4K 30 with the Honor View20. 4K 30. You see, so a lot of the micro jitter that can be found on video shot with the Huawei Mate 20 Pro is gone. This is relatively smooth. And I'm going to walk here soon and you'll see that there is a bit of stabilization. See, I'm impressed. This is 4K 30 video. Usually previous Huawei Honor devices sucked at 4K recording. Now this is acceptable. Now when you shoot in 1080-60, then you'll see that there's no stabilization and it becomes quite jerky. So now this is 1080-60. You see, now this is quite jerky. But if you shoot in 1080-30 or 4K 30, you're gonna get stabilized videos. So yeah, you see here are some selfies. So as you can see, the selfie camera, it's pretty solid. It not only takes really clean selfies, but you can also apply these filters to it. Honor has in fact developed a lot of these little funky modes for I guess younger people, because I'm a little bit too old to be playing with these things, but I guess if you like it, it's fun. It's like a Snapchat, Instagram filter that's built into the camera system, so you can just play with these things if you like that. We'll check out selfie videos too. Okay, so this is a selfie video recording 1080-30, I believe, with the Honor View20. So sound is pretty good, in my opinion. So let's see how stabilization is right now, and talking to the mic. Little bit of micro jitter, not too bad though. It's a good video. My face was in focus, the background was relatively clear, it did not overexpose the sky. So now even in challenging shooting situation, the camera performs pretty well. This is a difficult picture to take because I'm in a narrow street surrounded by tall buildings and the sun is setting in the background. So right here it's pretty dim, as you see. I shot this with 48 megapixels, so that's why it's a little bit dim, but now you shoot with 12 megapixel, you see it's much better lit. So like I said, stick with the 12 megapixel and you're gonna get really good photos. So battery life, as mentioned, is absolutely no concern. This phone gave me an average of like almost 6 hours of screen on time each day. It definitely, I would unplug the phone at like 11 a.m. in the morning, and even by like midnight, which is like 13 hours later, the phone will still have like 35% battery. It's pretty insane. So definitely enough battery to last you all day. Alright, so that's it for now. My final verdict on the Honor View20 is this phone, it's a worthy purchase, because again, for under 500 bucks, you're getting a Kirin 980 chipset and above average display, not like a great display, but above average, pretty good. You have a really good camera system that can definitely keep up with any of the flagships out there. So what you're missing is wireless charging, waterproofing, and that's it. I mean, it's under 500 bucks and you're getting value that's closer to like a $900 phone. Definitely the best phone Honor has ever made, and it can even compare to Huawei's best offerings in my opinion. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.